Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation, the Modai Zoshi, the Coming Volume 1 review. It feels appropriate that the very first manhwa or Chinese comic review for Alkonon is the well-known Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, hereafter abbreviated as MTSC. The series has already picked up a fair number of fans in the UK thanks to its animated show, available on Tencent's free Wave TV app. Is as the founder of Diabolism. Its live-action drama, available on Netflix as The Untamed. It is a original novel series, also available in the UK from Seven Seas. For manga readers who had yet to give this series a try, however, this might be the most accessible retelling yet. The story starts out simply in what might easily have been a cautionary monster of the week episode in the different series. Our hero Wei Wuxian has been dead for 13 years, but he finds himself abruptly summoned back to the world of the living in order to carry out a stranger's dying wish. The circumstances of his original demise have made him famous during the land, so he ends up adopting the identity of the dead man whose body he now inhabits in order to revisit familiar places, people, and feelings in the world when everyone else has apparently moved on. It's a compelling setup which immediately presents two concurrent mysteries to unravel. Firstly, Wei Wuxian needs to work out what's going on in the present so that he can carry out his summoner's dying wish and learn more about his situation. Meanwhile, the reader needs to pick up on the hero's little snippets of exposition to understand the wider context of everything that's happening. How does Wei Wuxian fit into the complicated political backdrop of this fantasy version of ancient China, dominated by clans of cultivators who wield powerful spiritual arts, and why was he so reviled that his name is still spoken in hushed tones more than a decade after his death? This last question is the strongest hook early in because Wei Wuxian is an engaging, likable protagonist who quickly carries the main narrative, as we catch him shamelessly playing the fool to avoid anyone realizing who he is, gently pushing the good guys in the right direction without taking any credit. It seems unimaginable that he could never have been a villain. I personally appreciated the way that he's portrayed as a witty yet flawed genius who gets things done, even if it does mean spending most of his first volume deliberately covered in blood when animated corpses run riot all around him. I should also mention that this is a Danmei story, China's equivalent of BL. It seems as though those elements are missing from my review because they are hardly touched upon in this first volume. Indeed, Wei Wuxian's fellow cover star, Nan Wangji, barely appears in this book, but a few background details from the novels are definitely glossed over that keep the focus on the action and avoid antagonizing Chinese censors. The lack of male-male romance in this book is simply because MTCZS takes a while to establish its story before the main couple's relationship comes to the fore. I think that the payoff is worth the wait, but fans who are hoping for a quick pace, spicy BL comics should go into MTZS, who does expectations suitable tempered. Speaking of censorship, Seven Seas have reassured fans that his English release is a direct adaptation of the Taiwanese Pintus edition, so while the manhwa adaptation is never going to be as detailed as the depictions as the novels, we should be getting some more intimate moments later on. The comic was previously partially available online from Tencent, but this is a brand new translation and the first English edition ever released in print form. I didn't have the chance to see the physical version of the book for this review, but Seven Seas have promised spoil highlights on the cover in a large trim release. It should be a handsome addition to Annual's collection. The comic itself is in full color and illustrated by Lu Di Kang Changqiu, whose capability to switches between moments of gory horror, dashing heroism, and light-hearted comedy, complete with charming chibi characters as required. Manga readers will feel at home with the art style, and while there's less consistency between panels than with the animated donghua version of the story, there are advantages to the format which more than make up for the occasional lack of polish. In particular, the artist makes good use of their panel layouts to depict concurrent conversation and flick between the viewpoints without ever overwhelming the reader, a trick which isn't possible to either prone or animation. It means that the minor characters get more opportunities to react to what's going on than in blink and you miss it moments and other mediums. It's worth mentioning that the Chinese cultivation fantasy genre comes with a lot of unique terminology about spiritual development, clans, and sex. And this manhwa adaptation favors the approach of revealing the world to the reader, naturally drawing its storytelling whenever possible. This approach carries across to the English translation. Cultural references are inferred rather than spell out drawn the script whenever possible, that the Lan clan's white robes resemble funeral attire, a notable cultural difference from a Western perspective, is supported but is neatly worked into the dialogue rather than overtly explained. A short glossary is included. At the very end of the book, the outline some of the translation choices, and there are a few extra notes in the margin of certain pages to help with genre-specific terminology. If you want to dive deeper, I recommend pick up a 7 seasons release of the original novels, for which they put together an extensive compendium of character profiles, locations, and other helpful liner notes, which still apply to this manhwa. The dialogue never makes it feel as though the characters are stiltedly explaining their own world to an outsider, but the trade-off is it does expect that the reader pays proper attention to each page. And paying attention is important because all of the major characters have multiple names and titles, which will become more relevant in future volumes. The book benefits from a careful reading and still retains its charm when it's revisited. When the revisited. When the reader will understand why certain character reacts to certain plot points based on what we learn later on. This is one of the reasons that I think the comic adaptation might be one of the most accessible ways of our newcomer to delve into the world of MTSZS. There are a lot of different names and cultural elements thrown at the reader, while they are still trying to keep track of Wei Wuxian's current and former lives. With the comic, the reader is free to absorb everything at their own pace, flicking back to previous panels of the glossary if they ever feel lost. In that respect, I think that this comic adaptation works equally well for new readers who benefit from the visual storytelling to help draw them in, and for existing MTSZS fans who are looking for another way to enjoy a beloved story. The first volume is manga adaptation due for release in UK and print and digital editions on 7th March, while the second volume is due for release in June. I know that we'll be eagerly awaiting the rest. 9 out of 10.